So this question, the way they have written it, it doesn't make it clear if you're integrating with respect to x or with respect to y. So what you want to notice here is that you have y squared. So you could rewrite y equals x as x is equal to y. And then of course your x is equal to y squared. So in this case, you're actually going to integrate with respect to y. So that is important because you have to set the functions equal in some form to find your bounds. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set the two functions equal with x equal to x. So we have y is equal to y squared. And then to solve that equation, you notice it's quadratic, but you can't just take the square root of both sides. You have to move over the y. So you get 0 is equal to y squared minus y. And then factoring that, you get y times y minus 1 is equal to 0. So this gives you y is equal to 0, and then y minus 1 is equal to 0. So you get y is equal to 0 and y is equal to 1 as your bounds. So to find the bigger function to the smaller function, you're going to pick just some random number inside of that interval. So I have x is equal to y, x is equal to y squared, and I might decide that I'm going to plug in y is equal to 0.5, let's say. So I would have x is equal to a half, and over here I'd have x is equal to a half squared, which would give us x is equal to 1/4. So comparing the x is equal to 1/2 with the x is equal to 1/4, that tells us that the bigger function is the x equals y, and the smaller function is the y squared. So what we would do for the integration of this is we would take the big minus the small. So our bounds go from 0 to 1. Then we plug in the big function, which is y, minus the smaller function, which is y squared, and then our dy. So now that the integral is set up, we can just integrate it. So we'll start off by adding 1 to the exponent, dividing by the new exponent, minus add 1 to the exponent, divide by the new exponent. And then you'll have your 0 to 1. All right, so plugging in the upper bound first, we'll have 1 squared over 2 minus 1 to the third over 3 minus, and then the upper bound was plugged in, now the lower bound, 0 squared over 2 minus 0 to the third over 3. And you will notice here that this whole lower bound is dropping off to 0. So that just gives you 1/2 minus 1/3. And you'll, of course, combine those, get a common denominator. So multiply the first fraction by 3 over 3, second fraction by 2 over 2. And you'll get 3 over 6 minus 2 over 6, which just gives you 1/6 as your final answer.